Welcome to Trip Tease. I am Lia Vincent, and today we are going to talk about what it's like to be a travel agent and is it right for you? I am having a guest on here. Her name is Heather, and Heather is actually a travel agent on our team. She's been an agent with us for only a couple of years, so you're going to get kind of two different perspectives. Both me, who have been in the travel industry for 22 years, and Heather for 2 years.
Hi.
Welcome, Heather. So, Heather, tell us what made you think to apply to become a travel agent.
I did study abroad in college and I just really enjoyed it, and it just kind of sparked travel in me. And so in my free time when I was working a 9 to 5 job, I used every single PTO I had. Like if I was sick, I was at work because I wanted to use that time off so I could go on a trip.
Yeah.
And it worked out in a way that I was able to switch over to being a travel agent.
I'm always so skeptical when someone comes to me and says, I want your job or I want to be a travel agent. And I think, do you follow me on social media? Because that's not going to be your life like right out the gate, because I know they see me only posting really exotic locations and silly TikToks and stuff like that. And that's probably the glamorous part that a lot of people are thinking is going to be as a travel agent. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be sitting on the beach with a margarita and just sending people $30,000 trip quotes. But that's not really the case day to day. You're working in your home office, trying to wrangle kids and all of the things. What is like a typical day for you?
I have 2 young children, so having them off at school is a huge perk because you really have to be focused 100% on what you're doing because, it can be distracting. If I get my kids to school, I'm logged in, I'm checking my emails, I'm answering clients. I'm also trying to juggle social media at the same time, which is like a huge part, and that can be really time consuming. In a perfect world, I'd like to say I get off work at 5, but that's not typically the case. It's usually, we're having dinner and stuff, and I try to take that time to myself, but I'm usually back on my laptop in the evening, like trying to get stuff done.
So this is kind of like being a car salesman where you're just there. I worked at a car dealership at the Land Rover dealership when I was in college, and those guys were there like 24/7, it felt like, because they never wanted to miss a sale. I mean, you do have to have boundaries to a certain extent, but it is a sales job. I mean, first and foremost, it's a sales job. So you have to, close the sale is of the utmost importance. Okay, let's talk about what person would be perfect fit for being a travel agent, but then also let's talk about who would suck at it. I mean, because there is a big disconnect. Let's talk positive first. Heather was our rookie of the year a couple years ago, and I use her as an example because some agents will come to me and be like, well, how do I blossom that quickly? And not very many people do. And I think that there's just a personality type, and it's being a salesperson. Also not being shy. And I want you to tell the story about the clients that you got at the hospital.
Oh, the colonoscopy group.
The colonoscopy clients.
So I went with my grandma to get a colonoscopy, and we're in the waiting room, and there's a woman sitting behind me, and she's chatting with another woman, and she's like, oh, I really want to go on a Christmas cruise with my whole family in December. And then, casually, I just, I'm like, have you guys booked anything yet? And she's like, no. And then my strategy is to tell people how knowledgeable I am about it before I tell them that I'm going to try to sell them something. I just start naming off like ships and stuff and like ones that go out of Galveston. And I'm just casually like, oh, Carnival's got this new ship, the Jubilee. Like they're going to actually be going out of Galveston in December. And then, I gave her my card and my information. And then I was like, well, we'll see what happens. But a week later, she emailed me. And I think I've booked like 10 rooms on that cruise for her family.
And that's just from like being just a travel agent in your normal life. She calls them her colonoscopy group. It's weird, but I'm amazing at the same time. You can get more clients and grow quicker and being able to just talk to people without being shy. So I think that is a huge thing. So many people these days, and whatever I'm not good at remembering
Mhm.
what Generation X or Gen Z or what all the different generations are called, and I don't really care. But the younger people, they're just so used to only texting that they can't talk to people on the phone. It's like they can't form these like normal conversation relationships with anyone. So you have to be able to be willing to talk on the phone, to talk to people in person, to meet up for
Mhm.
coffee and book their
Oh, yeah,
trip.
absolutely.
That's something that with here at Vincent Vacations, we have an actual brick and mortar that independent agents and then the obviously the full-time agents that work in the office, they meet with clients here in person. Let's talk through your trip because there's so like, do you want to exchange 400 text messages about this or do we want to
Yeah,
have a
absolutely. I
30-minute
think some people
conversation?
have gotten so reliant on text too. Like you have to be willing, especially when I'm working with a bride or something, I want to talk to them because I want them to know my personality. And I feel like you can just get a better read of a person and kind of what they're looking for when you actually hear them
Mm-hmm.
versus you're just sending them text messages.
Being willing to just put yourself out there. So many people I've heard, well, I don't want to bother them. I don't want them to think that I'm annoying, with like maybe social
Yeah,
media. Those are the kind of people that don't
right.
succeed with being a travel agent. One thing that's really hard for travel agents is there's really two parts to being a travel agent. There's the sales part, and then there's the bookkeeping and the detail. And finding somebody that's good at both is very hard. I will say that a lot of the top sales agents all have virtual assistants, and that helps keep all of the behind the scenes bookkeeping
Hmm.
and all of that together. I know you can be huge for once you're starting to really dive into making this a full-time thing. We do have a big range of agents, and there are a big range of agents out there. There's some that do it on the side, and that's something that we are really trying to get away from as much as we can, because if you're a little bit good at it, then your business is really going to expand. And for you to have some sort of job that's prohibitive of you answering the phone or being able to call a cruise line or an airline because you have a client that needs that in the middle of the day can be really prohibitive
Well, and
of doing a good job.
yeah, you have to be available for people. Like, if something happens at the airport or they have an
Mm-hmm.
emergency, like the point of people usually using a travel agent is they have someone that they can get a hold of. And if there's someone not there for them, not
Right.
only does that make you and your business look bad, but, there goes every referral you could have possibly gotten. And you know what I mean? It's like it just all trails. And so, yeah, if you have someone that works at a job where they're like, oh, I can't answer the phone from 9 to 5, that's just not going to work.
Yeah, we've had people that they're a nurse or, something like that where they definitely are not just able to just walk around and talk on the phone or let me put my
Right,
earbud in
right.
and be on hold. That's so unrealistic. This was a long time ago, but swine flu, everyone's calling and there's just like weird stuff that happens. And so then the airlines and the hotels and stuff, they're all backed up and you have to sit on hold for 3 hours.
It helps
Maybe
if you're a
isn't for
good
you.
multitasker, so you get some other stuff done while you're on hold for 3 hours too, and
Um,
not just working another job.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about the virtual assistant. I think not everybody even understands what those words mean. And so it's basically having a secretary, but they work out of their house and you work out of your house. So this person doesn't necessarily have to have product knowledge, but they know how to pull everything up in the computer. Oh, this person needs a ride from the airport. I'm going to book that. This person's final payment is due. I'm going to send them a reminder. Hey, there was a schedule change and your seat assignments changed, and I got you in these seats. They're doing all of that kind of like stuff that you probably don't even think about that we have to do while we're selling a trip. In a perfect world, people just say, yes, I would like to book this super expensive cruise, and here's my credit card. Go ahead and pay it in full, and then just email me when it's time to go. No big deal. But that is not the case. Usually you're going through lots of options, and then people are deciding on something, they're putting a deposit down, then there's a final payment date. There's questions about where they should eat, what excursions they should do, how are they getting from the airport to the hotel before for the night before their cruise, etc., etc. Can you think of any other little tasks that you didn't even realize were part of selling travel that you
Yeah, I
do
mean,
on
in
a regular
the best
basis
case
of it?
scenario is you have a virtual assistant and you're literally just doing the sales portion and then you're tossing it over to the virtual assistant. There's just so many things that go into it. I mean, you have to be really detail oriented because schedule changes are huge. They take up a lot of my time. I get schedule changes and I'll have someone going to like Norway and then all of a sudden they had this nice 2 hour layover and it's switched to a 45-minute layover. Well, that's not enough time to like go through customs and stuff to catch a connection or whatnot. And so it's like you have to be able to look at that and figure that out. Sometimes they'll even switch airports, like you just have to be on top of that stuff. And then in a perfect world, send it to your virtual assistant and then they could take care of it.
I think the virtual assistant is like basically living the dream for travel agents because what they want to do is they want to sell the trip. Like that's what people are envisioning when they're a travel agent. And they're not envisioning all this extra work. But you can't become a travel agent and have a virtual assistant typically on day one because now this job is going to cost you money. So another thing that we would like to talk about is we don't just travel for free. And I think that is a common misconception that a lot of people think, well, I'm going to be a travel agent. I'm going to go on free trips. And I will say I do get a lot of free trips, but I do pay for a lot of trips. A lot of people just assume every single trip I'm ever on is completely for free. And I mean, honestly, I don't even want to tell you because I've not even told my husband how much I spent on travel last year. But there was, 6 numbers in the number for my travel budget last year, or wasn't even a budget. It was like, it felt like a free for all. But the way it works as you're a travel agent is some vendors will give us free travel, but it's based on your sales. So you're earning points, or you're like, hey, if you sell 10 trips, we'll give you 1 free night. And there's like different contests, but we get different incentives like that. And I don't want to portray it as, oh, well, you're only selling that because you're going to get something for free. They almost all do it. And I'm talking about like beach resort type of trips. But then there's the agents that sell like a lot of Europe and they're custom putting together Europe trips. And they don't really get anything for free. It really depends on what your niche is and if that genre of travel gives you free stuff. But depending on what you do, like cruises, you like never get a free cruise. So it really depends on what kind of travel that you're planning, but you just have to kind of build that into your overall budget. We do get to go to like cool conferences. Like my family will be like, oh, you're on another work trip. And I literally, like, some trips are fun. Like last week I was in St. Vincent, but a lot of trips that we go on, we barely even put our swimsuit on. Last summer, I think I put my swimsuit on during our retreat for like 2 hours. But we were touring hotels, like sweating like I've never sweat before. We're like taking a picture of the name of the hotel so we know these pictures until the next picture of a name of a hotel is the next hotel, to try to keep it all straight so that when you're going back and being able to look at the pictures, you'll remember which hotel you were touring, so you can kind of try to keep it straight in your head. And then it's like you get back and you're like, you look terrible. And they're like, dinner's in 45 minutes.
Well, we do have so much fun. But what you don't see is like what we talked about earlier is, me sitting in the room because it's too hot outside and calling people. And because at the end of the day, like your job is to sell.
Right.
Do I want to go dip in the pool for an hour or do I want to sell this big vacation? Because clients don't wait. If you're not willing to bust it out, they're going to call somebody else and you're going to lose that sale.
I think that the big thing that people think of being a travel agent, they think of it being like a travel influencer, and we're not the same thing. So a travel influencer is like the marketing bank of a hotel. Like they're spending money to have this influencer there to bring the clients to the travel agents. We can kind of be like one big team where it's the influencer is creating this buzz at a hotel, and then we have to go in and actually do all of the behind the scenes ad.
Well, right. And I think what we're doing a little bit differently is we're qualifying our clients. Like we're saying, yeah, this hotel is beautiful, but I don't think that that's the hotel for you. I think based on what you're looking for, this is a better fit, because sometimes when people post things, you're only seeing certain aspects. So they may post a really nice video of them like at the pool or whatever, but you actually want to go to the beach and that place doesn't even have a beach. You know what I mean? So you got to look at all aspects. So I think that's where we come and help.
I went to the grand opening of Secrets Playa Blanca and we did a podcast about that as well. And they kept calling me the influencer. And I was like cringing a little bit. But I played the game a little bit. And to be an influencer like that, it is a lot of work. So I was only there like 36 hours and people thought I was there for a week. So I was going back to my room and changing my clothes like multiple times so that every TikTok I was wearing different clothes.
I know you like to make TikToks. So what's the most ridiculous thing that you've brought as a prop to a resort?
I usually bring like blow up toys, but not the kind you're thinking, like the pool floats. And I bring the pool floats because it is a fun picture. And I actually brought this like real obnoxious unicorn pool float to Secrets in Cabo. And that was like right before they became really popular, where it was like a huge one. And they ended up taking it away from us at the pool and saying that this wasn't the kind of place that would have these kind of pool floats. But luckily we were in a swim out room. And so we made this whole like video where they were taking it away from us. And I mean, I couldn't even fit it through the doorway. It took up basically an entire suitcase. And I'm not above doing stuff like that. One thing that's nice now, they're kind of getting used to the pool floats at hotels. So you can just give your pool float to one of the pool guys and they will go blow it up for you. It just makes your pictures more fun. I'm not ever going to shy away from bringing something, and also I'm executive platinum on American, so I can check 3 bags. So bring it on. Anyways, I've enjoyed this conversation with Heather about being a travel agent. I think Heather's in it for the long haul. And we do have a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work. You do have to kind of be willing to go all in. We do train at Vincent Vacations. We have a whole training program. I was actually doing that this week with a group of 6 new agents. And I'm a little bit hardcore about it, but I feel like it is producing amazing travel agents. And I'm really proud of, agents that came to us. One of the agents told me, I was hoping I would just sell a couple trips a month to like have spending money. And now she's making 6 figures. So you can do it. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there and be available. And especially during busy season, or what we call wave season, which is January through April. And a lot of people don't realize that's our busy season. We're like CPAs.
One thing I'd like to add is there are a ton of agencies out there that will pretty much just let you pay this money. Like, you are now an agent. Yeah. Well, that's not really how it works. You have to have a good agency that will give you a good foundation, because there is a ton of training that goes into it.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Heather. And if you're ready to plan a vacation, Heather would love to help you. She's a great agent. She does an amazing job with Scotland and Ireland. You should follow her on TikTok. Her email is heather@vincentvacations.com. She is the original Heather.
So my TikTok handle is at hold my passport.
Not hold my beer, like hold my Heineken, but hold my passport. And then you have a great Facebook group.
Heather with Vincent Vacations, deals and travel reviews. I will say my TikTok, I try to focus more on like nerd travel, because I love watching Game of Thrones and then going to Ireland or Outlander stuff. Like, I love connecting all of that stuff and actually getting to go see them. So if you like TV and stuff, you'll probably find something funny in mine.
If you like TV, follow Heather on TikTok. And you can always follow me, Vincent Vacations, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks for listening.